there, welcome to my channel. My name is Linda. I got some fun inspiration for you today. Lots of great DIY home decor. That's a mouthful, right? Lots of fun crafty things for us to do. What are we waiting for? Let's get started. Today we're going to be working on some farmhouse home decor using mostly Dollar Tree supplies. So let's get started with project number 1. So for this project, I'm going to use 3 of these long signs because it takes less wood. And I'm going to cut them directly in half, which makes them about 8.5 inches long a piece. And then I'm going to use this home word left over from another project. I think I got it at Walmart or Dollar Tree. If you don't have these long signs, you can elect to use these 12-inch chunky slat boards. You will need 6 of them though. They are the same width like this way, the same thickness, but they're a little bit thinner this way, but it would still work perfectly fine. I just chose these longer boards because you use less wood. Okay, and then of course, you have to take all the paper off, but whatever. So 4 of your boards, again, they're all cut directly in half. You're just going to place them in a square shape. All right. And then 2 of these boards you can see up here at the top, right and left side. Can you see how I've sanded them down? Just like at an angle, just sand them down so you have a flat spot to glue here in just a minute. So now moving on to the roof, your last board, you can see how I'm going to glue it at the top. I'm going to angle it like that. Going to be nice and easy. But when you go to do that, by angling it like that, it's going to make one board like longer than the other. So what I did is cut one board and I cut an inch off of that board so that when I attach it at the top, it'll look even across the bottom over our house shape. I hope that's understandable. So now I'm just taking some wood glue. I like to put on my paintbrush and I'm just going to wood glue our house together. And I just need to apply the wood glue like the top and bottom pieces on the very ends. That will help hold our bottom portion of our house together. Okay, and then just put it together like that. And then just going to set it like that for a minute. We're going to get glue on the ends of our top piece. And then I do clamp this together, so... And someone asked me where I got my clamps. I get them at Harbor Freight. If you have a Harbor Freight in your area, they work really well and inexpensive. So once I get this together, clamp them all. I'll do top and bottom little clampy. We've got the bottom portion of our house. And while that is being clamped, we're going to move on to our roof. Again, just the short one here. Add some glue on the end and put it together like this. And I will go ahead and clamp that as well. We're going to let that set for just a little bit, about an hour. And then I'm going to go ahead and add some wood glue right on our areas that we sanded at the top of our house, those kind of slanted, sanded areas, so that we can put our roof on and we've got something to glue to. Otherwise, we'd just be gluing like at the point of the house. We'd have no surface to glue that roof onto, so that's why we sand it. Once that glue is on, I go ahead and clamp it. So here our house is ready to go. I also like to add just a couple of nails. I don't know, just in my brain, it's like add some nails. You don't really need to. Wood glue is perfectly wonderful. I'm going to use Debbie's Design Diary DIY White Swan chalk paint. We're going to use that throughout all our projects today. And I'm just going to come in and I'm going to paint everything. I even paint over the areas on the wood that's already painted white because this White Swan paint is a softer white. It's a different shade. So I just paint everything inside and out. As I like to say, frontwards, backwards, tilt ways, whatever. Get it all painted. And then once it's painted, I will go in and use my electric sander and distress it. So while the paint's drying, haven't sanded yet, I wanted to show you what I'm doing here. I'm not going to use vinyl for the projects today. I know a lot of you guys don't have electronic cutting machines. This is what I did before the electronic cutting machines. I would just use my Microsoft Publisher program. I'm using the Georgia font here, and I just printed it out on scrapbook paper, and then I cut it to fit my projects. Okay, we're going to come back to that in a minute. Here's my house. Now the paint has dried and I've got it all sanded and ready to go. Here's my home word again, and I'm just going to keep it. It was white from another project. I'm going to keep it white on white. I like it. So for my paper to fit here, I'm using some typing paper. I'm using one of these signs from Dollar Tree, and I'm cutting it to fit the center because I don't want to paint the entire sign this time. I want to leave that wood grain around. I think my last video I painted the whole thing. So I just want this paper is going to be like my little pattern piece, and I'm going to cut it to fit a little bit shorter all the way around. As you guys know, that's what I like to do. So I am adjusting my little pattern here. This is how I figure out, especially when you're in the middle of a project like this, like the signs in the center of a board, this is how I figure out where to cut on my scrapbook paper, because that's where my printed words are. This is what I've got, about 1/8 inch short all the way around, like I said, and I'm going to fold my paper in half, vertical and horizontal. And then I can take that center point and hold it up to my words, and I can see through that typing paper, and I can center it. You can see here, I kind of got to hold it up to light. And then I can mark my papers where I need to cut it so that I know it's going to be centered on our little sign down there. Okay, so this is how I did it, and it looks perfectly wonderful, and you don't have to buy stickers, and you don't have to use your handwriting if you don't like your handwriting, if you don't have an electronic cutting machine, but this is how I did it, and now it looks perfectly wonderful centered. Now for a heart, I'm going to use a wood heart here. It's kind of a thick one I just had in my supply. I traced around it, and then I'm coming in about 1/8 of an inch in. I'm drawing a new pattern line here, and that's what I'm going to cut out so that we see a little bit of that heart perimeter around the edges of our paper here. And you can see I kind of made it a little bit slanted because the way the heart's going to sit. Set that aside for a minute. I'm going to come in and paint the center of my sign here. I'm just using some painter's tape here so I don't have to clean up any edges later. Just moving that around and just painting just around the edges a little bit. That's all that's going to show. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the heart, except without painter's tape. And we're going to paint that. Again, just around the edges. And then I'm going to come in on all my projects today. I like to take my papers to my sewing machine. Those of you who've been with me a while, you know I like to do this. I use a 10 or 11 needle. Some of you may need to go down to a 9. My stitch length is on 4. It's a straight stitch, and my machine likes all polyester thread. You can certainly use cotton, and you just stitch on it like it's a regular fabric. Nice and easy. You don't have to be special with it or anything. You just have to pay attention and find the right needle. You might have to play around with it. I know one of my subscribers, the 10 or 11 was too big, so I, recommended she try and go down to a 9. All right, so just sew around it. And then I'm going to take the open end of my scissor blades here, and once everything's sewn, and I'm going to scrape around all the edges to kind of give me that nice rough texture border. You don't have to do any of this. You don't have to sew. You don't have to do, scraping along the edges of paper. You don't have to distress it or anything like that. It's just something I like to do. It comes from my scrapbooking days, and y'all know I still kind of scrapbook, some projects. So we're going to be using Beacon Fabri-Tac glue for all our gluing purposes today. We're going to get this onto our sign and get our papers onto our heart. Nice and easy. And then once this is glued on the heart, I'm going to make a little mark here because I'm going to hang this little heart. So I'm just making a little mark. And then I'm going to come in, set that aside for a minute. I'm going to glue my home word on. I kind of like that white on white fashion, but you could paint it a different color. Looks pretty. And now this is, a cup hook and a little eye hook, and I spray painted them white. And I'm going to use a little eye hook, and I'm going to just twist it into where I made the mark on the heart. And then I'm going to twist in the cup hook. I made a little mark here too where I wanted to hang onto the house right underneath that home word. We're going to get that in there nice and tight, and then our little heart will hang right below our home word and just give us a little bit of cute movement. We'll add our sign. And one more little thing here. I'm just going to take this jar from Dollar Tree. Got a little Spanish moss in there. Our Dollar Tree got in some of these new wood curly roses. I'm going to place that in there. And then that makes this project complete. Before we move on to our next project, I had a subscriber that wanted to see my little fluffy marshmallow Marley. Here is a little kitty cuteness for you.
I know that made you smile. Let's move on to project number 2 for a Lindified book stack dupe. So I'm searching for inspiration on Pinterest. I come across this photo. It's one of 3 designs. You can have one for $123.99 from Wayfair. You've got to be kidding me. Now, this is made out of wood, but I'm going to use this from Dollar Tree. It works perfect. You could still use wood pieces, salvage wood, but this book stack is fine because the height is the exact measurement and the description, the length. The only thing is the width this way is about 2 inches shorter. Not a big deal. So on my computer, I again printed out exactly what I needed. I'm following the book stack in the middle of the book stacks on that picture. And I've cut everything out to fit this book stack here. I'm going to cover all the sides. I'm going to paint it a little bit too, but I decided instead of just painting it, because there's paper on this book stack from Dollar Tree and I'm not using plain wood, I'm covering it with, white cardstock. But if you use wood, you don't have to use cardstock. You can just paint it like the photo. I, of course, have sewed around all my edges, just like I showed you in the first project and will continue to do in the third project. And I'm scraping around the edges as well, again, with my scissor blades to distress everything. And I thought this would give a little bit of personality. This was where my Lindified comes in, right? Perfect. And once I get that all done, I'm going to use Waverly chalk ink in white because it's white. And I'm going to just go around and just start painting around the edges of my little book stack. And again, if you use real wood, you don't have to use cardstock and you can just paint it and distress it, to look like the photo. But I could not believe from Wayfair, one of those 3 designs, $123. I'm like, nope, we can make it cheaper. Let's do it. Once paint's all dried, I'm just coming in with a little sandpaper, distressing around the edges so it kind of looks like the photo a little bit, and kind of distressing in between our books, so to speak, quote unquote here. Give it a little separation. And then once that's all complete, we'll go ahead and start gluing everything on. Again, I'm using my Beacon Fabri-Tac glue. Covering the back, of course, and the bottom, and the top, and the sides, and the front. And I think it gives a little bit of personality. And you could, like here, I cut out my pieces separate for like the sides and the front of the books, quote unquote books. You could probably wrap your paper around and do it in one piece, from one side to the other. But I just kind of like that definition between, the front and the sides of the book. Do you know what I'm saying? Hopefully it's understandable. So instead of you would only have 3 strips going all the way across, where I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 strips because I'm covering 2 sides and the front. Okay? Get that on, and then we'll go ahead to the front side and watch if you do cover it with paper or cardstock, watch it because your measurements, they're not all the same. One of mine was a little bit smaller. I had to actually go in and reprint these and make my words smaller because one of the sections here was not as wide as the other sections. So kind of watch that as you're printing these off. Okay, there we go. And then we'll get our top piece glued on here. Yes, I'm wearing my wrist thing again. A lot of you know that were with me. I broke my wrist last summer and kind of carpal tunnel showed up in the middle of it from my job and getting numb fingers and stuff, and now it's coming back again. I had a shot in November, and I don't know, it's coming back, so I need to go back and see the doctor again. But my wrist break is perfectly healed and doing fine. So I'm coming in with some white twine because that's what the picture showed, and I'm coming in with some beads from Dollar Tree, and I'm painting them white because the picture shows them white, and the picture also shows they use 5 beads, so I'm doing 5 beads here, round beads. Not going to do any more or any less because, we sort of want it to be doopy, right? Is that a word? And then I also noticed like my white twine didn't quite match the book stack. And then as I was looking at the picture closely from Wayfair, it looked like the twine they used was distressed, like it had been painted on. So I'm bringing in some of my Waverly chalk paint here and I'm painting my twine to give it kind of a white distressed look and bring out that white color a little bit more. And then once I get done with that, if you don't have white twine or can't find it at Walmart, it's where I get it. This new macrame cotton twine from Dollar Tree is about the same shade. So I'm going to wrap this around 3 times because that's what the picture shows. And I'm going to tie it in a little bow here. And then I'll add my beads. They have 2 beads on one side and 3 on the other, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to match it as best I can. And then, of course, once I get my beads on, I will tie a knot at each end so that my beads do not fall off the twine, and cut off the excess. And then there's one little more thing we're going to do. On the book stack I chose, their homeward, part of the design came up into a heart at the top of the E. So here comes a little bit of my Lindified in it, right? They had a little heart there. You'll see it kind of in the end photo. I'm going to add one of these wood hearts from Dollar Tree. And I just sanded around the edges, so we'll place that on there and then take a look at our price comparison. So I chose the middle book stack. Wayfair came in at $123.99. Ours came in at an inexpensive low price at $2. And honestly, I think it looks better. I love it! And that makes this project complete. So let's move on to our last project, number 3. But first, let's take time to check out a little small Dollar Tree haul. So our Dollar Tree got a lot of stuff in. They came in with these slat boards that I honestly love. They are really long, and I got a ton of them. You guys, I got like 20 of them, and they come in at like 18 inches. So you're going to see me using these a lot. And then they got in the shorter ones as well. I got a ton of these, and they come in at almost 12 inches. And then our Dollar Tree just got these package of wood beads in, so I didn't get 1 or even 2. I love that they have multiple sizes in there, and they're not those weird, ugly colors we used to have to buy before in a package. So I got 3 packages. And then they had these round wood beads. I only got 1 because I don't use this color often, but I wanted to have it. And then they had these wood rings. I don't know why I got them. I have a project in mind. We'll see if I use it, but I wasn't going to pass it up, so I got 2 of the 5 count and 1 of the 6 count because they had different sizes. And then I know you guys have had this one in a lot, but ours just got these in, these wall shelves. I picked up 4. I'm going to actually use them for a sign coming up. And then they had these chalkboard tags, these stars, so I got 2 of those and 1 heart. And then here comes the twine I was showing you earlier. They're macrame cotton, so I picked up 1 of those. And then I thought these were really cute. I've seen some people with a couple of versions of them. These stickers, I love that they're like 3D and they're farmhouse theme. This would look cute on like our first project if you didn't print anything off and put one of these stickers on. So just an idea for you. So now our shopping intermission is complete. Let's get back on to project number 3. For this project, I'm going to use one of these canvases, and I was going to use this flat board. I'm going to show you that because you still have that option. And then 2 of these 12-inch chunky slat boards, but I will bring in a couple more wood pieces, and then the handle from our famous plunger. So I've already got one of the canvas signs prepared. I took everything off, and then on the flat board, I went ahead and filled the holes, and my, idea was to put this on the bottom to fill the space, and you can certainly do that. But then as I got to looking at it, it was looking a little like short to me. So I decided to take 2 of those 10-inch chunky slat boards to put on the bottom. There'll be a little space in there, but it gives the illusion that it's taller but still have a shallow area. And then I've cut my plunger down to 12 inches because that is the length of this, vinyl sign. And we've made one of these kind of before, so we're, just making it a little bit different. I'm going to use the 2 longer chunky slat boards for the side. So what I'm going to do is take one here and I'm going to mark it. I'm just going to center it on the side of that, rectangle wood shape there. So I'm just marking it so I know where to put wood glue. And then the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead, I'm adding wood glue again with the paintbrush, and I'm taking those 10-inch chunky slat boards and I'm gluing them down. If you don't want to do the chunky slat boards and you want to do that thinner slat board or that thinner wood piece, that's where you would put that there, okay? You can glue that down. And then I'm just paint cans to hold it in place. And then I've marked where I want my, plunger here, my little dowel. It's going to be our handle. And again, I've made one of these before. We're just kind of, making it a little bit different design. I'm putting wood glue on the ends, and then I'm going to put it together where I've got the circles marked on those two long pieces, and then you can see it in the top corner as I'm painting wood glue on the sides of our box. I've clamped that together. And then once the top is dry, clamped, ready to go, I can undo it and then put this, into position where I've got that wood glue, and then I can clamp it together as well. And so then our putting together of our box is done. Okay, here it is. Perfect, looks cute. I'm going to use the Debbie's Design Diary DIY White Swan chalk paint, and I'm going to come in and around, and I'm going to paint everything up except the handle. Okay, and then you can see on the handle, I left the area, where it's got the little screw parts where it screws into the rubber plunger, because I like to have that little bit of personality on the handle, but you don't have to leave that part on there if you don't want to. I don't know why I like making these kind of crates. I think they're really just fun and cool looking. And like I said, I made one before. I'll try to remember to put that link on the video. I'll write myself a note. I made that one before. It's sold, and so now I'm making another one. Once this is all, painted and everything, and I use this Waverly Antique Wax mixed with water and stain our little handle here, I'll go in with my electric sander and, I'll distress everything up. Okay, get this nice and painted on easy. Wipe off the excess. Here's everything all distressed up. I like how that turned out. Looks really good. Now we're going to fill it up. I'm going to use one of these signs from Dollar Tree. Somebody remind me what shape that is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sextagon? I can't say octagon? No. I don't know. Whatever. I've taken the paper off around it, and we're going to go ahead and paint it. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and distress around the edges. We're just kind of putting some little design elements inside our little crate here. I wanted to kind of look like a garden theme. And I don't know how many pots I'm going to use, so I took the pots and kind of painted it with that chalk paint, and then I sprayed it with water like this and kind of rubbed it off, and it left kind of paint like around underneath the rim and stuff, and I thought that gave a nice distressed look. I like this one better here. That's probably the one I'll use, but I was thinking about using some small ones, and then I don't end up using, I just use one, I think. So here is my quote. Again, printed it off my computer and did it just how I did all the other ones, so it could fit my sign. Kind of got to hold it up to the light and center it and cut it out, but it works. It looks really nice. And again, as I said in the first project, you don't have to have a cutting machine or do stickers or anything like that. And you can use your Word program or whatever program you want. I just like Microsoft Publisher. Again, I'm sewing around the edges, distressing around the edges with my scissor blades, and then we'll start gluing it together. A nice, easy, cute sign here to fit inside our little gardening crate. You could add anything in this crate. I mean, the cute little tools and stuff like that would be cute in here. And I decided to use a little Gorilla Glue and put on this little cute brown knob, but then in the next clip you're going to see I changed to a white knob. I was using brown because I was trying to match the handle of our box, but I didn't like it. So here's my white knob, and I tied on some twine. This is Dollar Tree twine that's just in now. Tied it, wrapped it around a couple of times and made a bow, and I'm going to use a square and round bead from Dollar Tree. In their little nautical section, they have the square beads. And then that's where this twine came from. They have a couple different colors. And then, of course, I will tie some knots at the end of each and cut off the excess. I'm going to double knot it because the holes on these are really big. Don't want our beads to fall off. And once I do that, this project will sit in our box. Perfectly cute. Just add a little something. And then you can see I've got one flower pot in here, although I think it would be cute with a couple different sizes stacked up. Some flowers from Dollar Tree and Hobby Lobby, and I'll put this little sign in here. And that was going to be it, but I decided it needs something else. So I found this in my supply I was going to use from another project. It is one of those square signs. You get a 5-pack of those square wood pieces at Dollar Tree. I had painted it white and had the paper on it, sewed around the edges, distressed around the edges, so it was all ready to go for me. And then I'm adding a wood heart that I distressed. That That is also from Dollar Tree. It was already painted pink. I just sanded it. And then one of these love words that are new out now, it's a 2-pack. You can get at Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to paint it white. I'm going to do white on white so that, kind of like the first project, it's there, but it's not in your face because it's, the same color. So it kind of blends in nicely. Once I get that painted up, I'm going to go ahead and glue it to the front of our box. And of course, you can see the little heart sign tucked in behind that flower pot. And that makes this project complete. So I hope you enjoyed all the projects that I came up with today. Leave me a comment down below and let me know which project would you like to try and make. Please give this video a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed to my channel and you just wandered in here and you're checking things out and you like what you saw here today, make sure before you click off you hit that red subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss out on another video from me. Before I go, I'm going to leave you with one final thought. Okay, 2 thoughts. First, I am so very blessed to have you all be a part of my life. We may not all have met in person, some of us have, but I think it's been a divine joining together through crafting in Jesus. After telling you all my story last week, the outpouring of love and the comments, I don't know if I can put it into words how your comment touched the very core of my soul. Your promises of prayer made me smile and my eyes kind of leaked a little. Some of you shared your own story and my heart ached. Please know I prayed for you right then and there. I don't want any of you to feel alone in what you're going through. I also thank God that those of you that shared your story, you were able to tell me how God blessed you through it. And I thank God for doing that in your life. I want you to know that I don't know if I can reply to all of you in a timely manner with all the comments you made on that video, but each week when I share these last thoughts with you, I really pray and I listen to what I feel God wants you to hear. I always pray that your ears would be open to hear, your eyes would see what you need to see, and that your heart would be receptive to what He wants for you. I don't take this lightly, and I pray for you all every single week. You're a part of my life now, and that means so much to me. So I thank you all for being such a treasure, a true friend, a sister, a brother in Christ. And I thank you so much for taking the time last week and every week to reach out to me. With that said, let's take a moment to see what God has in store for us this week. We've all heard the saying that change is difficult. We all know change is difficult, whether it be a change in a job, a location, authority, family, health. Change is often not our friend because it brings us out of our comfort zone, perhaps out of our complacency of day-to-day life. The Bible instructs us to be content with what we have and look forward to the future with our hopes and dreams. So change can definitely interrupt our well-made intentions of life. So how do we combat change, move forward without anxiety, and release the comfort of the past? Let go and let God. With change, you have to keep your focus on God. You have to keep your eyes on Him. We know we will all go through things, difficult things, have tough decisions to make, but we also know God tells us to be ready. We have to choose to trust Him in all our circumstances. We can choose to focus on the anxiety of the change or the uncomfortableness of the change, or we can choose to focus on God. When we choose, we purpose. We take action. So choose to take action. Have that purpose and focus on the unbreakable promises of God. Don't rely on yourself. Instead, rely on God to take this change, this course of action that He has ahead for you, and focus on that. With things going on in the world today, we are definitely seeing changes take place, and it brings anxiety, fear, bitterness, sadness, maybe even anger. But I believe God is telling us to focus on Him. Don't look to the right or to the left. Don't look back. God has your back. He didn't make us with eyes on the back of our head. We're not meant to look backward. You cannot trip over what is behind you unless you run back to it. So today, choose to move forward with Him. Keep your focus on Him. Humble yourself and pray. Acknowledge you have a need in this change, in this season of life, and receive His joy for the journey. Walk this road with Him. He will be with you the entire way, and He will keep you safe. I thank you for sharing your time with me, and I'll talk with you again soon. Bye.